Today, I'll consider this as to be a rather special opportunity. You see, for some of you who may know, I have just taken my Chinese O-level exams for the very first time. I'm still waiting for the results, and in light of that, I'm also going to do 3 big challenges. All of this is in the spirit of trying to use Mandarin in everyday life and not just simply for exams. So that's why I think I'm excited today, because I'm meeting someone named Dr. Alvona. She is effectively bilingual, and she's a doctor as well. And she uses these 2 languages not just in everyday life, but in her practice. And I think she's so good at Mandarin that she's even part of the Promote Mandarin Council. So I think she's the perfect person for me to ask questions on how do you develop yourself in these languages for life. And I'm quite excited to learn from her. My initial curiosity is that I have clearly, through my own journey, met people who love the language for various reasons. You are the first one though that I've met who not only has a relationship with the language, but now is doing something almost at a national level, which intrigues me because why?
Yeah, I think for me, it really comes quite naturally because when I was very young, I always watched, all these dramas in Mandarin, and I also find it a very natural way to express myself. It brings me a lot of joy still, like when I watch dramas or when I talk to my friends in Mandarin. It's a natural way for me to sort of understand my own culture, and so I want to sort of share this passion with others. And thereafter, one thing leads to another. I joined Promote Mandarin Council as a council member with the hopes of inspiring others, to be interested in Chinese too.
Like, how did that come about?
So for me, I think you have to go back all the way to when I was in secondary school. I was basically like any other student, I liked to listen to Chinese songs. At that time, it was Jay Chou. And the lyrics of Jay Chou and his lyricist, Fang Wenshan's superb. If you look at the lyrics that he writes, it's not really just contemporary Mandarin. It contains a lot of beautiful sentences, phrases that sort of gives you a bit of insight into ancient China, actually. So some of the lyrics, sort of like sparked my interest in Mandarin even more. I also realized over the years that I still watch a lot of dramas, all the 宫廷剧, like 甄嬛传, 步步惊心,
So you love the stories of it?
Yeah, I love the plot, and I feel like it's very engaging, and I feel like it makes me feel interested to know more about what they are trying to say, because a lot of them use very profound, profound phrases.
So 成语 is also those wordplay that you require to learn the word itself.
Yeah, and as a child, I would always write down, the sentences that they say. Yes.
What I'm further intrigued by now is how does this lead to real life action? Because you're not the first person I met when I'm like, wow, 我很喜欢看戏, 我很喜欢听歌, 喜欢唱 karaoke, but you're in some ways different. You want to inspire others to also find ways to learn through their own enjoyment of the language, but also to use it in everyday life. So perhaps I'll ask is that in your profession, do you have to be effectively bilingual for?
Yes, it helps. Yeah, actually a lot of the patients are older, and also some of them are actually from other countries. So if you can speak Mandarin well, they naturally find you more endearing, and they can, feel like you are able to empathize more. Yeah, so in my line of work, it helps.
In what you've just shared, there must be a bridge that we now must cross. You went from, okay, this is part of my everyday life, I enjoy it, and then now I get to use it, what I feel to be one of the most challenging environments, which is to use technical terms. Because there are some 词 that's like technical, 你不可以去翻译的。How do you cross that bridge? Is it easy for you, or was there difficulties that you've met along the way?
So I think what you refer to is like the 专业术语, right? Like the professional terms. So actually, I have to always emphasize that when you use a language, you don't have to be perfect in it. I think they would expect me to be able to describe to them, what the condition is. And because of my work before I see a patient, I would do my homework. But you try to do, the best to your best ability in layman terms.
So for me, I just took my O-levels. And one of the concerns that I have was, how am I going to maintain or even build upon this momentum? Because I'm back to now being busy with my work and other stuff. And to be honest, my daily environment is still mostly English-centric. Do you face those struggles, especially at the early part of your career while you're still studying?
I think for me, it was more during my junior college years, because that was the time when I never used Mandarin much. So I have to admit that during that 2 years, of junior college, it probably went down the proficiency line in the language.
No, but that means that after junior college, things went on the up and up. University.
Yeah. In university, I think it became better actually, better than back in secondary school, because it became more of just like a passion. I didn't have to worry about whether I would score like A1 or what. It was just completely, it was just, it became more natural, and also the interest was there. Yeah, so I think you have to be patient with yourself. It's not something, out of the blue, you suddenly become like the god of Mandarin.
Do you have any advice for me on how to shape your environment so that you can still use Mandarin naturally, given the fact that we are a multilingual society here?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it is actually what we call like 大环境. So your environment makes a very big difference. One way I found useful was I made friends, a lot of friends who were very good or even better than me at a certain part. So for example, I have friends who actually went to Peking University. So they definitely had something to teach me, right? And when I converse with them, they share with me their knowledge and they help me maintain, that particular level that I wanted to maintain at. Yeah.
I realized that I don't study by books. I study by talking, because that's what I do in documentaries. And I'm not sure whether this is the best way.
I think there's no right and wrong. I have seen friends who actually need to constantly talk to other people. They cannot, do it by themselves. That's not wrong. I mean, you can find a way that you enjoy. Some people like to talk to others. Some people listen to the radio. It just happens that, for me, I like to watch dramas and I like to write down things that I hear.
That's how you learn.
Yeah, that's how I learn. It's a bit like fitness, Some people, they have to exercise with other people, otherwise they cannot.
Oh, that's very true. Okay. Then that leads me, I guess, to the next point is how did all of this lead you to now effectively doing civil service or a social service, a social good? Because despite the fact that you like Mandarin, that doesn't mean that you need to participate in Promote Mandarin Council.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Why do you decide to dedicate some of your time here? Because I guess as a doctor, you are also fairly busy as well.
Yeah, I think the main reason I do it is because certain people who in the past walked the path before me inspired me. So I always believe that it's like a 传承. You cannot, expect the next generation to be interested out of the blue and there's nobody there to sort of pass the baton. Then it's very hard for them to believe that it's possible. I just want to show to others that it's something that is possible if you put your heart to it. Now, as part of the Promote Mandarin Council, I hope next time people who have this kind of a doubt, they will see, oh, someone before me actually did it before, so maybe it's possible. Yeah.
A few weeks later, I'm going to attempt to write my first Lianhe Zaobao commentary.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because that's part of my 大三挑战. So while waiting for the results, I have given myself a challenge in oral where I will go to a radio show to have a live interview. For listening compre, I would produce a brand new short documentary but entirely in Mandarin, so I can comprehend someone else's story in Mandarin. And then finally for writing, 写作, it's to write on Lianhe Zaobao. How do you think I should write it? Should I just write from the heart? Is that enough? Or for you, you feel like there's this thing about audience and editors?
I actually was a Chinese correspondent before I became a doctor. I was a student correspondent like that Indian interviewee. Yeah. So I think a misconception actually usually some people have is that you have to use very flowery language, but that is actually not what they are really looking for. I think it's more important to be genuine about the thing you're writing, especially if it's a commentary. Yeah, when they find that it's genuine, then they would feel like reading it. But I do think that there's a lot of value for you to write this commentary, because I think young people, they would watch your video and after that, if they read what you write, then they will be even more inspired that, wow, if OKJ can do this, then I can do this as well. Yeah.
Well, Dr. Alvona, thank you very much for your time.
No worries, thank you so much. Yeah.
When I write that, I can let you read it as well.
Yeah, all the best. I hope to read it.
Great, let me do this.